I've talked about a lot of things Pokemon related in this past year, but I've never really talked much about the Pokemon themselves. What would the series be without all these monsters to force into slavery? There's 721 Pokemon as of Generation 6, with even more in Generation 7, and I'm going to take on the daunting task of narrowing that down to 10 of my favorites. I've written several different drafts of this video over the years, but I was never really happy with any of them. With all the Pokemon hype everywhere, with the 20th anniversary and the recent release of Pokemon Sun and Moon, I think I finally got it. With that, I present to you Chunky Monkey Games' top 10 favorite Pokemon. I'm not going to be including any 7th generation Pokemon, simply because Sun and Moon is still too new for me to really develop a liking to any given few, but with that out of the way, here we go. Let's get started with number 10. This first entry on the list is actually a pretty recent one. With the release of Pokemon Go back in July, I wasn't expecting to find so many Weedle! Despite the minor annoyance, Weedle was a Pokemon that was everywhere, and with all the ones that I caught, I eventually evolved one into a Kakuna and eventually into Beedrill. It wasn't until playing Pokemon Go that I realized how cool of a design Beedrill has. Like, dude, his hands are stingers, look at this! And those eyes are just so menacing. I have a pretty big fear of wasps. I don't know what it is, I just don't like them. So when I thought of a Beedrill in real life, I kinda wet myself. Like, imagine a 3-foot tall wasp with giant stingers for hands flying at your face at 100 miles an hour, and it'd probably impale you faster than you could say, oh my god, that's a Beedrill. Despite how scary this would be, imagine having said 3-foot tall wasp working for you. Not gonna lie, that'd be pretty dope. As far as stats go, Beedrill isn't the strongest Pokemon out there. However, if you train this thing in attack and speed and slap a Beedrillite on it, then bam! You have the king of glass cannons known as Mega Beedrill. My Beedrill in Pokemon Go is named Bullet, because this thing is fast and menacing.
And it'll probably kill you.
Generation 5 was hated on a lot when it was first released for having a lot of Pokemon based on inanimate objects. To that I say, look at Gen 1. Who could forget such memorable designs like Pokeball with eyes, magnet, and multiple eggs? Yeah, real original there, guys, real original. As much flack as these inanimate object Pokemon get, I have a certain fondness for Chandelure. Chandelure is a Chandelure. Fairly self-explanatory. Chandelure, its evolution line, and Alolan Marowak are the only fire ghost types in Pokemon so far, which is a very unique type combination. This thing is one of the best special attackers in the game. It has 145 base special attack. Max out its special attack, including its nature, and give it choice specs, then Chandelure has a whopping 641 special attack. That is crazy. You don't even need to set it up sometimes. You can just sweep a team by itself as long as it outspeeds. Chandelure also gets the ability Infiltrator, which causes attacks to break through substitutes and makes them unaffected by moves like Light Screen. That is seriously OP and is seriously underrated. Sure, it's pretty frail, but that's why you got other Pokemon on your team. Chandelure's appearance in Pokken Tournament was very surprising to most people, and I love it in that game because it's so not meant for fighting games, yet it still manages to be OP. However, the main reason I love Chandelure is because it was the first Pokemon that taught me how to breed for IVs. I needed a perfect IV Chandelure for a competitive team I had been working on, and I had to learn how to breed all on my own, and Chandelure was one of the first Pokemon that I bred with relative ease. That, combined with its odd yet interesting design, makes it a Pokemon that I will always consider putting on my team if I'm in need of a special attacker. Aipom is, in my opinion, a rare case where a pre-evolution is better than the final form. Don't get me wrong, I like Ambipom, but I feel like it's over-designed. Aipom, on the other hand, isn't anything over-the-top crazy like a flaming chandelier. It's just a purple monkey with a hand on its tail. Nothing more, nothing less. I remember seeing that thing in episode 1 of Diamond and Pearl, and I was like, man, that thing is cool. Aipom was actually my favorite Pokemon for a while as a kid, before my history with the #1 choice, but Aipom was a Pokemon that Ash didn't use too often. I remember watching every episode of Diamond and Pearl, waiting for Ash to call out Aipom, and got super excited when he did. Aipom is pretty bland design-wise, but I like how it's so goofy looking. That disproportionately large head, those wide eyes, and that cheesy smile combined to make one of the cutest Pokemon ever in my opinion. Aipom always reminded me of this show I used to watch as a kid called Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. I couldn't tell you about it because I only vaguely remember the opening, but I apparently liked that show as a kid. If anyone else remembers that show, let me know in the comments. What was I talking about? Oh, right, Aipom. It's a purple monkey. That's it. When it comes to legendary Pokemon, I never really find myself becoming too attached to any of them. Even the first legendary I ever caught, Palkia, I don't even like that much. Sure, it's cool, but it's not that cool. Well, for the god of space itself anyways. If you saw my top 10 Pokemon movies video from about 2 months ago, then you know that I love Pokemon Heroes, and because of my love for that movie, Latias has become one of my favorite Pokemon. I explained why a bit more in that video, so I'll skip straight to the design for this one. I'm not entirely sure what Latios and Latias are supposed to be. Are they like jet planes, or yin and yang? Whatever the case, I love this design. It looks so fast and aerodynamic, like it was meant to be in the sky. Latias is a dragon psychic type, which is so unique. Latios and Latias are the only Pokemon with this typing, and it's really fitting, especially considering how they were presented in Pokemon Heroes. However, there are 2 reasons I like Latias over Latios. One is because I like red as a color, and 2, because its special attack and special defense are switched from Latios's. It has 130 base special defense and 110 base special attack. The reason I prefer this is because it fits my playstyle of biding my time, which I will talk about a little later in this video. Latias has always been a Pokemon that's been a bit of a challenge for me to obtain. In Heart Gold, I looked around for Latias for days. Roaming legendaries are always a pain, but Latias was especially annoying, at least in my experience. When playing through White 2, I found out that you could catch a Latias at the Dream Yard, and it ultimately became my final goal to catch, but it ended up taking me years to beat the game, mostly because I just didn't play it for a year. When Omega Ruby rolled around, it was the first game I had where Latias wasn't the main one of the duo, and I got really lucky getting an Eon ticket code. I almost didn't get it, but after all that hard work, I now have 3 Latias. Mission accomplished. Also, it's so cute! Oh my god! I want to squeeze it while I ride it into the sunset! Latias. It's number 7. To me, there have always been 5 core Pokemon types. Fire, Water, Grass, Electric, and Dragon. Not sure why I think this is, I just kinda do. So when narrowing down 721 plus Pokemon down to 10, I looked to this to think of what my ideal team would be, and when it came to a water type, Lapras was the first to come to mind. The first main thing that draws me to Lapras is its majestic design. Lapras is based off of the Plesiosaur, which was an aquatic creature that lived during the time of the dinosaurs. There was a time when I was a kid where I loved dinosaurs, so that likely contributed to my liking of this Pokemon, but also its resemblance to the Loch Ness Monster, which was something I was also obsessed with as a kid. I saw in an episode of Monster Quest that the Loch Ness Monster was supposedly a Plesiosaur, and that really piqued my interest. This unexplained creature, mixed with my partial love of dinosaurs, specifically the desire to ride dinosaurs, caused me to fall in love with Lapras' design. Lapras has a shell on its back that just looks like it was made for riding, and come on, who doesn't want to ride a Pokemon? I liked how in Gen 6 you could ride a Lapras with its own animation and everything, which was super legit. Stats-wise, Lapras is somewhat decent in the defenses department, but is fairly balanced overall. I like how it's super balanced, it can be really used any way you want. You could be a tank, staller, sweeper, whatever. It gives you options. I've never really used a Lapras or a team based around one, but I'm sure it's pretty decent if you have a good team to back it up. However, the thing that really sets Lapras apart from other water-type Pokemon is that it used to be super rare. For example, in Generation 5, the only place you could find a Lapras was under the village bridge, and there was a pretty slim chance of you finding one. I used to spend hours on end simply searching for a Lapras, and after weeks of tedious encounters with Basculin, I finally found one. Lapras used to be a very hard to find Pokemon, with only the most knowledgeable and the most lucky being able to catch them, and that's what made it special. It used to be this super rare Pokemon that you could show off to your friends, but in recent generations, they basically give you one. I remember back in my original Heart Gold playthrough that I only managed to find a Lapras using the official guide. I otherwise would have never found it, which would have added a sense to accomplishment when you actually did find one. But now it's like, hey kid, want a Lapras? My history with trying to find a Lapras, as well as its basic yet super regal and majestic design, give it enough credit for it to be in my top 10. Ah, Wobbuffet. You're so weird. I have quite an odd history with Wobbuffet. When Generation 4 was at its peak, I used to beg my mom to take me to the nearest Toys R Us, which was like 3 towns away, to get one of those Pokeball toys with a Pokemon inside. And one day, she did, and inside was the blue blob known as Wobbuffet. I still have it today. Now, out of all the Pokemon I could have picked, out of the variety there were available, why Wobbuffet? It's not really that powerful in battle and generally pretty bland. Well, I loved Wobbuffet in the anime. Wobbuffet was in the anime from Johto to Sinnoh, and he didn't really do much but serve as comedic relief, but by Sinnoh, he really felt like a member of Team Rocket, no different from Meowth. When Best Wishes rolled around, I was sad to see that they didn't bring him back. I was waiting for his part in the motto, but he never showed up. Bringing him back in X and Y made me really happy to see one of my favorite anime characters return. If you know how to use it correctly, Wobbuffet could be a valuable member of any team. With a whopping 190 base HP and only 58 base defense and special defense, it could easily tank hits. Wobbuffet is designed to dish hits back and not attack itself, so it gets no moves that directly attack. It gets access to moves like Counter, Mirror Coat, Safeguard, Destiny Bond, and a few others. It also gets the Shadow Tag ability, which makes your opponent unable to switch out, so you could in theory just sit there all day spamming Destiny Bond until your opponent kills himself. He's basically the ultimate revenge killer if you know what you're doing. I really like Wobbuffet's design as well. It's kind of like a blue punching bag, which is also seen in how it doesn't learn any damaging moves. In order to use it correctly, you have to bide your time until the time is right to strike, and I love that. Wobbuffet is a Pokemon that I could never forget because of how unique it is, so I think it definitely deserves a spot on this list. It also just so happens to be my text tone. When it comes to Mega Evolutions, Sableye is definitely up there. Mega Sableye is really only on here because I absolutely love using this thing in battle. It's literally the best anti-lead ever. No matter what somebody sends in, Sableye can counter it. It gets access to moves like Will-O-Wisp, which can essentially put physical attackers to shame, and gets Magic Bounce when it Mega Evolves, making setting up Stealth Rocks or even Whirlwinds a challenge. It honestly amazes me the amount of people who don't know what Magic Bounce does, and I'm pretty sure I've won 50% of Pokemon Showdown battles because of Forfeit alone, simply because nobody knew how to deal with Sableye. To add insult to injury, if Sableye has Prankster before Mega Evolving, it will still get the Prankster boost on its Mega Evolving turn, despite its ability changing. It's so overpowered and I love it. Of course it has counters like Clefable or Xerneas in VGC, but it's super fun to use. I really like using a moveset of Will-O-Wisp, Snarl, Recover, and Calm Mind, which if used correctly make Sableye basically untouchable. I like how simply giving Sableye, a generally weak Pokemon, a Mega Evolution, they were able to make it one of the most competitively valuable Pokemon out there. I also love Sableye's inspirations for its design. For those who are unaware, Sableye is based off the Hopkinsville Goblins, which were a mass alien sighting in the 1950s, where multiple witnesses reported seeing little green Sableyes running around and terrorizing the town. This is even seen in Sableye's personality. It's often shown as being shy, yet playful and mischievous at the same time, and the alien sighting reported the goblins essentially pranking people while still hiding out in the shadows, so it really fits with Sableye. I'm really interested in aliens and anything paranormal, so I like to see Sableye repping the unexplained. I'd give it the nickname Hopkins because of the aforementioned aliens, or something like Keck because it's the sound I imagine it making in real life. It also seems like it'd go on 4chan a lot.
Keck. Keck, 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 keck.
Every Pokemon player remembers their first starter Pokemon. Starter Pokemon are the ones that always stay with us till the end of the adventure, and anyone after your first one just doesn't feel as special. My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Pearl, and my first starter was Turtwig. What, you were expecting the little text box sound to play? That's because my number 3 spot doesn't go to Turtwig, but rather its evolution, Torterra. As far as design, Torterra is literally a turtle with a tree on its back. Simple as that. Calling it a day, guys. Come on, let's go design an ice cream or something. It's quite a simple design, yet it works really well, making it seem defensive. Torterra is really only here because of nostalgia purposes, which I normally hate. I hate it when people are like, oh my god, nostalgia makes it better. But this time I'll make an exception for Torterra. I'm yet to find a moveset on it that I actually like, but I'm sure I'll find something that fits my playstyle. I never nicknamed my Pokemon when I was a kid, but nowadays I'd call it Pangea or something. Actually, I think that fits really well. Pangea it is. Dragon types have been and still are some of the most powerful Pokemon out there. Dragons in general are also pretty awesome, but Noivern is a very different dragon type, and that's why I like it so much. For starters, Noivern isn't based off of a dragon, but rather a wyvern, which have 2 legs and wings attached to their arms as opposed to 4 legs and wings on its back. Noivern is also a very sound-centric Pokemon. Its ears are basically speakers, and before X and Y were released, people were theorizing that there was going to be a sound type based on Noivern's design alone. Even Noivern's name alludes to this. Noivern being a combination of noise and wyvern. While not the best dragon type out there and not even a pseudo-legendary, Noivern does have some decent stats. Its most important being its special attack and speed. I personally like to run a Choice Scarf with max speed and special attack investment with moves such as Boom Burst, Air Slash, Dragon Pulse, and Flamethrower. It's not a very powerful Pokemon by any means, but it is super fun to use and can essentially destroy a team that isn't prepared for it. I nicknamed my Noivern Bass Cannon, because it's sound-based and it needs to
Let the bass cannon kick it.
Pikachu is probably the most popular and recognizable Pokemon of all time. I mean, come on, it's the mascot for crying out loud. But many people seem to forget that Pikachu has an evolution in Raichu. Raichu is essentially everything I look for in a Pokemon. It's got a great design, great typing, and is somewhat powerful in battle. Let's start with Raichu's in-game stats. It's pretty frail with only 60 HP, 80 special defense, and a measly 55 physical defense. Needless to say, your Earthquake and Raichu don't get along too well. However, its low defenses are made up for and it's extremely fast, 110 base speed, allowing it to outspeed many Pokemon, and 90 in both physical and special attack. This can make for some very excellent mixed sets in competitive play. I personally like to run 3 special attacks with Volt Tackle as a backup just in case I need to deal with especially defensive Pokemon. Hidden Power Ice is a must, but it is super hard to breed onto this guy if you're also trying to get Volt Tackle. I personally like running Focus Blast as well in order to deal with steel types like Excadrill or Magneton. Lastly, I run either Thunderbolt or Thunder if it's a rain team for obvious reasons. Raichu is also a pure electric type, making it weak only to ground, giving it great team options and synergy with many Pokemon. That's enough for the competitive stuff, so let's get into the design. Raichu is essentially a Pikachu on steroids. I really like how this Pokemon is on the smaller side, it can really pack a punch. But the only thing I don't like about Raichu's design is how Generation 6 and its 3D models absolutely butchered it. Why did Gen 6 have to make every pre-existing Pokemon such a lighter color? Raichu is supposed to be orange, not slightly darker yellow. And look at his posture! It's like they're trying to make it look like a disgusting rat. How could they do this to you, Raichu? How could this happen to me? Nitpicking aside, I also have a really strange history with Raichu. As a kid, I grew up watching the anime, and Ash Ketchum was basically my hero. I wanted to be just like him. Real life hit me like a truck, didn't it? I wanted to have the same hat, the same attitude, and obviously the same Pokemon. I always imagined having a Pikachu as my partner, just like Ash. But as I changed and grew older, so did my likes and dislikes. I guess you could say my taste in Pokemon also changed, as there was a certain Pokemon that I grew tired of over the years, and that was Pikachu. When the Ash's Pikachu Toys R Us event rolled around, I got it, and believe me, I wanted to evolve it. In fact, that was one of the first things I did in the game. I still have it in my Omega Ruby simply because it's an event Pokemon, but I really regret evolving it. Tangents aside, I grew to love Raichu for a while, and it just kinda stuck with me. There hasn't been a Pokemon in any of the generations that have managed to wow me as much as Raichu has. My Raichu has the nickname Gigawatt, because a gigawatt is the equivalent to 10 billion watts, which is a lot of electricity. When Sun and Moon rolled around, I was really hoping for a Mega Raichu or something, but we got a Alolan Raichu instead, and I really like the concept they were going for. It might not be the best Pokemon competitively and isn't necessarily perfect design-wise, but Raichu has managed to stay my favorite Pokemon throughout all the generations that have come and gone, and that is something that no other Pokemon has been able to pull off. Hey, thanks for watching my video. This has been my top 10 favorite Pokemon, and in the comments below, I'd like to hear your favorite some of your favorite Pokemon. This was a video that has been a long time coming. So, yeah. Stay tuned next month for the finale of the Pokemon 20 celebration video thing on my channel. So, we'll do that. That's going to be a thing next month, probably. I don't know. And, yeah, that's all for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you want. And, that's all. Bye-bye.